The Fantasy Codex by the Bright Letter. Act 1. Higroshi the Mage of the Self-He Saga. Part 1. The Five Lords with Allies. Introduction. Higroshi wakes a few moments before the sun. He dresses in his magic robes, slips on his gilded boots, and leaves his home with his wife Truany at his side. Today is the day of the Mage Battle Tournament. The event Higroshi has been training to fight in for many months. The time has come to show the mages under Gomak's rule what he can do. They now approach the arena, and Higroshi's stomach lurches just looking at it. It towers over the two of them like a monster, and soon they will walk right into its mouth. Name? Asks the woman at the door. Higroshi, son of Higros. The woman checks the scroll in her hands. Follow me. The woman leading, Higroshi and Truany walk down the huge, echoing halls of the arena. As they pass the soon-to-be audience, he can hear some saying things like, "Isn't that Higroshi?" And "There goes the battle mage." And "Look at those boots." Eventually they reach a door with the letter H on it. "Here we are, Higroshi. There's wine and food on the table. If you need anything else, just find me, or anyone else working here, and we'll get it for you." "Thank you, Miss Lim." With a smile, Lim walks away. "This is it," says Truany as she shuts the door. "The time has come." "Please, Truany, no pressure." "I'm sorry, but I think a little pressure is necessary. We are in the Mage Battle Arena, about to fight in the Mage Battle Tournament." "No, we aren't. I am. You don't know how distracting pressure is when you're fighting." Truany thinks for a moment. "You're right. I'm sorry. It's just that—" She sits down. "This is a big deal. For you and me. Plus—" A knock at the door and an arena worker comes in. 1 minute, Higroshi. 1. Higroshi, under the pressure of winning, looks down at his bright gilded boots, trying to remember his studies of combat spells. There's Elemantico Hispessa, said to rip apart your opponent's ego, but this spell has the tendency to backfire. Ruse is a quick spell with low power, only giving your enemy the feeling of a jab to the face. It may hurt, but will not guarantee him victory. Higroshi has to hurry before his turn is over. His opponent Givri's next move may finish him. Then, out of nowhere, like the coming of a rain cloud on a day of blue skies, Higroshi remembers a spell said to have destructive qualities. With no time to remember exactly what it does, he casts the spell, Havalura! Givri's face twisted in horror as the words were spat. He was sent sprawling backward and out of the mage ring like he was tied to the waist with rope and was pulled out by a speeding warhorse. Givri's body lies limp on the ground, unmoving. From the audience surrounding the mage ring, there were no gasps, no cries of horror, just applause. The healers then tended to Givri, while Higroshi walked triumphantly to his resting quarters to await the final round of the tournament. This next battle will determine who gets the title of this year's Best Battle Mage, and who will win the Ring of Glory. Higroshi sits in his resting quarters, a goblet of wine in one hand, and a scroll of his scribbled notes and spells in the other, studying for the battle that is to come. His next opponent, the name slips Higroshi's nervous mind at the moment, has been the reigning champion for the past 2 years, while Higroshi is currently in his first attempt in the Mage tournaments, shocking everyone with his capabilities. 3 soft knocks had sounded on Higroshi's door. Setting down his goblet and scroll, he gets up and opens it. In comes his wife Truany, flinging her body onto his and kissing him deeply. "Truany," Higroshi sighs, "if you have come to deter me from fighting, I must disappoint you, for giving up is not in me. It is the opposite, my love. I have come to remind you that victory is most needed. As you know, I have left my first love and my homeland, because you promised me the world, and so it is my duty to make sure this promise is obtainable. Tariq held him apart, my love. With that, Trony left the grocery to his preparations. Ladies and gentlemen, we are down to the end. We have seen 8 mages battle for the title, and only 2 remain, Higroshi and Keldum. The crowd roars at the mention of their names. Will Keldum get his 3rd consecutive win, or will the newcomer bring him down? Let us find out. The horns signal the remaining mages to step into the ring. Higroshi appears refreshed and invigorated. With a shaved head and somewhat unkempt beard, a gold sphere pierced to his left ear, 3 diamond rings with gold bands on his right hand charged with magic, draped in mystic white robes and enchanted gold boots, he looks the part of a rich and powerful mage. Keldum, on the other hand, looks as if they picked him randomly out of the audience. He wears faded brown robes and black boots, with no jewelry. The only thing making him look mage-like is his long black hair slicked back. This hairstyle was worn by the Orego wizard tribe 3,000 years ago. Could he really be an Orego wizard? Alright, mages, I'm sure you both are well read up on the rules of this engagement. You will take turns casting offensive spells. You may cast defensive spells at any time. Healing spells are prohibited. If one of you becomes unable to continue, the other wins. Do you both understand the rules? Yes. Yes. Then bow, and let the battle commence. They bow to each other, and take their places at either end of the mage ring. Higroshi strikes first. Cast! Higroshi takes 3 deep breaths. Inhaling on the 3rd, he bellows out, Horinian crash! And claps his hands together, sending a boom so loud that it was visibly harpooning its way to Keldum's head. To Higroshi the sound was no louder than a normal clap. To the audience as loud as a firework would be above their heads, and Keldum, directly hit with it, was instantly deafened by it. Would you look at that, folks, announces the commentator. Higroshi has cast a self-made spell, and has seriously injured Keldum. Without his ears, Keldum will have difficulty defending himself against Higroshi's attacks. Keldum has gotten up after involuntarily falling to his knees, and has stopped clutching his ears. With pain still clearly showing in his facial expression, he pulls himself together and shouts out a defensive spell, Orbinidia Quintillet. Surrounding Keldum now is a pulsing orb, each pulse turning it into a deeper purple, until Keldum only appears to be a shadow in its center. And then, with each calm breath of Keldum's, the purple orb slowly faded from Higroshi's vision, but he knew the orb still remained. Stunning. Keldum has created an orb of protection. The strongest of these spells can hold off 3 medium power attacks, magic or otherwise. Keldum brings his hands to his chest and twists his fingers into an ancient symbol and casts his next offensive spell, Quellica Night Embodiment. Out of thin air, an object begins to take form an arm length from Keldum's chest. The object becomes a sword made of Orego black matter. He is an Orego wizard. Now that Keldum has cast a continuous spell, he has cancelled the attack on turn rule. Higroshi is now able to cast offensive spells at will, as long as Keldum continues with his spell. Keldum grabs the sword with both hands, and takes slow, deliberate steps to his steady-handed opponent. This battle is most exciting, as expected. The audience shows their agreement with applause. Higroshi shows no hesitation with his next spell. He puts his hands together in front of him, palms together, fingers upward, and begins the incantation. His Helmo ex firm el peridium tsunamic. The ground immediately emanates a low, rumbling sound. As the sound grows louder, a large, visible ring of pure red heat on the ground surrounding Higroshi appears. It starts to bubble, and soon there is a lake of red and white fire to keep Keldum at a distance. The 2 obviously powerful mages stand there for a long moment. Higroshi, waiting for his magic power to recover. Caldum is waiting for Higroshi's spell to die out. He knows his spells will live longer, so all he needs to do is wait. They wait longer. Higroshi then decides to wear down Caldum's orb of protection. With the offensive spell Energia, a spell he found while studying heat, he makes the temperature around the orb flare up like inside a giant furnace, making it come back into vision. The deep purple then starts to slowly fade. Caldum inside the orb of protection does not show it, but inside he begins to panic anxiously. He can tell by the way the orb is losing color that soon he will be hit with whatever is depleting his shield. He has no choice but to use the cancellation spell, forfeiting the fight. The crowd gives a pleased applause as Caldum teleports from vision. That's it, people. Higroshi wins. The audience begins to cheer louder. The commentator then runs out of the mage ring with the ring of glory in his hand. On approaching Higroshi, the commentator takes Higroshi's left hand and slips on the gold ring with a purple gem onto the index finger. The audience stands on their feet, continuing their applause for a lengthy time. Finally, Higroshi leaves the battle ring and goes to his resting quarters to retrieve his belongings and his wife, and to begin the trek home. 2. Higroshi calls an unfamiliar voice of a woman as he opens the door and sees two unfamiliar faces standing on either side of Tariq. My love, I tried to make them leave. They insisted it's important. I am contestant, says the tall, thin woman to Tariq's left. And this is Creek. She gestures to the heavy-set man on the other side of Tariq. We are here on behalf of Gomek. Oh yeah? Says Higroshi suspiciously. What would our lord want with a lowly mage like myself? He closes the door behind him as he steps in. Lowly mage? After that vicious performance? We have in our midst the humble one, contestant, laughs Creek. What is this about? Asks Higroshi impatiently. We cannot say, says Creek. You must come with us. The man then begins to take out teleportation spheres. Listen, you fool. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me why it is necessary. Tariq moves to stand with her husband. Contestant turns to Creek. Level with him. Well, sighs Creek, our mission is to find a strong mage that matches Gomek's requirements and bring him to Gomek's castle. It would have been Caldum if you hadn't just demolished and deafened him, adds contestant. What is your mage level in any case? 7.9. You have done some impressive things for someone at your level. It's not luck if that's what you're implying. I've trained endlessly since I learned my first spell. Good, good. That is one of the requirements. Constant determination, says contestant excitedly. We will expect you at midnight. Creek tosses Higroshi a teleportation sphere, a small, marble-like object used to teleport quickly to a set destination. The destination in this case being Gomek's castle. Oh, and Higroshi? Creek looks at contestant and back at Higroshi. Do not rest. Stay awake until you teleport. Heavy Creek and Slim Contestant then use their own teleportation spheres. Simultaneously, the two agents throw the spheres onto the ground, cracking them. They fade out of vision. Higroshi watches the empty space the agents were in, brutally deep in thought. His face churned into a hard glare. What does Gomek want with me? Gomek, of all living beings! This is huge with certainty. Huge. These thoughts occupied his mind, until everything, the present time, the room around him, all seemed to be gone. My love? Tariq asks worryingly. She hugs his arm and looks into his eyes in a comforting manner, trying to say, I am here for you, whatever you need. Higroshi looks into his wife's eyes and replies, let us go home. They have no teleportation spheres. They are too expensive, being 25,000 gold coins a sphere. Higroshi and Tariq ride on horseback home, while the sun burns low behind them. They arrive at their house with tiredness pulsating through their bodies, but Higroshi thought it better to listen to the words of the agent and not sleep. Instead, they make tea and sit in the lounge room of their moderately large home. to talk about the day's events, especially the last one. They discussed the three mages Higroshi battled, and how Caldum unfortunately had to endure the terrible fate of losing his hearing. They agree, though, that Caldum knew what he signed up for, and that it was just a minor incident on the road to Higroshi's main goal, to be great. But what does Higroshi's plan mean now? Is it still in play? Gomek has summoned him, and Higroshi has about an hour before he has to leave. Truni suggests he bathes and dresses in new robes to impress their lord. He kisses Truni lovingly on her lips and goes upstairs to get ready. Once out of the tub, he puts his magical rings back on. Though they are not as strong as the ring of glory he has just obtained not too long ago, his 3 gold-banded diamond rings all mean something to him. The ring on his little finger was given to him by his mother when his father Hygros passed away. His father promised him the ring ever since Higroshi was a child. It has the capacity to carry the power of a single spell, almost like an arrow in its quiver. There is an engraving on the inside of it saying, "Spells, the acknowledgement of God." After meeting Truni, he bought the ring on his ring finger as a promise to himself that she would be his. On this ring there is an enchantment, allowing him to find Truni wherever she is. The engraving on the inside says, "Love, the acknowledgement of others." The last gold diamond ring on his middle finger he bought when he made his first 100,000 gold coins, which is a lot for a man who grew up in poverty. He made the money by teaching young mages to get to level 3. He has taught 5 students every year over the course of 10 years. The engraving says, "Money, the acknowledgement of self." 3 knocks on the door, and in comes Truni without her clothes, her black hair flowing down over her chest. She shifts her weight to one leg as she begins to speak. "I want to reward you for doing an astounding job in the mage ring." She steps closer and kisses him. "I would like nothing more than that." Truni wraps her arms around his neck and whispers into his ear, "Carry me." Higroshi easily lifts her off of the ground. Her legs wrap around his waist, and he carries her to their bed. After a passionate affair, Higroshi gives Truni one last kiss before he gets up to put on his mage robes. The robes he has chosen may be the most expensive he has. The robe top is sky blue. It has the image of a massive tree with yellow sunlight shining through the leaves and branches. The robe bottom resembles soil with roots reaching for the floor, and his boots are a glowing orange, portraying the core. What makes the robe so expensive is the enchantment on them, making the sun actually give off light, and the soil having the scent of the earth. And if you look long enough, the clouds on the robe top beside the tree seem to be moving. Truni watches Higroshi get dressed. When he is finished, she gets up and hands him the teleportation sphere. Without another word from either of them, Higroshi breaks the sphere and fades away. Truni weeps. 3. Higroshi the individual, a mere ponderer of the elements, is a soul surger, a rarely found mage that uses the energy of his soul to fuel his mana. He has vowed to live by pure magic. He exists in a realm where 5 hugely powerful sorcerers, Gomek, Federer, Bleezy, Huden, and Krobe, rule every part of this land, but separately and different from one another. They are essentially kings with their kingdoms. Though Higroshi is great in magic, there is a massive space between his power and power strong enough to contend with these 5 rulers. This is no different for anyone in this realm. It has been this way for 500 years. In this modern era, which is the present time, Higroshi lives in a land where magic is a common gift. Mage capabilities range from levitating, level 1 to 4, to summoning otherworldly beings, level 4 to 8.5, to the manipulation of time, level 8.5 to 13. To put things into perspective, Higroshi's mage level is 7.9. Gomek, the ruler over the land Higroshi lives in, his mage level is 29.3. Higroshi appears in a circular room of stone. Contestant enters the room immediately. Follow, she says, and exits. Higroshi hurries after her. Outside of the door is a staircase, winding around the tower he was just in. The cool air feels good on his skin as he runs down the steps, catching up to Contestant. Creek was worried you wouldn't come, she explains. But I sensed when you took the teleportation sphere that you intended to use it. Don't know how I sensed it, just did. They reach ground level and make their way to a door on the west side of Gomek's castle. You sense a lot of things people can't sense once you reach level 14. You are level 14? 14.1. Impressive. Thank you. Creek is level 12 and angry about it. I tell him maybe if he wasn't so lazy he'd level up. Once they are through the door, they walk up a short flight of stairs and down a long hallway. Halfway to the end of the hallway, they go through another door and up another winding staircase, this one being indoors. They take the staircase all the way up, all the way to the top floor of the castle, to Gomek's private chambers. Wait here, says Contestant, when they reach the door. She disappears behind it to inform their lord. A few moments later, she comes back and motions for him to follow her in. There, sitting in his solid gold throne, is Gomek, holding a goblet of what is no doubt the finest ale ever brewed. His skin is white, unlike Higroshi's, and his hair is a fine brown pulled back and tied. His robes are of the deepest blue, reminding Higroshi of the sea. His boots are shimmering steel, and are firmly planted on the ground. Gomek looks younger than Higroshi, but in fact he is centuries older. Tell me your name, mage. He finds it odd Gomek doesn't already know it. I am Higroshi. Suspicion is heavy on your voice. You are without fear at the moment, but this is a hint of confusion. But there is a hint of confusion. This is from my question, is it not? Yes. Most people are surprised at my intuitive abilities, but you are not. This shows signs of willpower, but also cowardice, for not wanting to look further into the matter. Higroshi says nothing. Do not become angry at my words. I am simply stating what I see. My lord, why am I here? You are here because I need your assistance. With what? The destruction of Merlo. Are you aware of him? No. To know who he is, you must first know who he was. He was known in an altogether different realm as Whole Realm. He served his kingdom. He died ages ago, but now Merlo is said to be Whole Realm's soul back from hell. This gave my aged contestant ideas of Whole Realm dipping into dark magic, and there she was right. In fact, he gained his whole success in magic in the darkness. Though he didn't use his magic for darkness, his ability to even begin to partake in spells was owed to a dark deal with the devil. Now on a mission for power, Merlo comes to the realm of the five sorcerers to take over as the one and only ruler. Are you saying a single wizard is a threat to all five lords of this land? Plainly, yes. Merlo is rumored to be level 50. The rest of the lords and I have decided to bring one ally each to aid us in an epic battle between him and us, Merlo versus the five lords with allies. But before we come to this ending, we must first win the war between Delgoa and mages. A very serious expression is shown on Gomek's face. Delgoa are a strong type of demon Merlo summoned from hell to raid our countryside, villages, and towns. We have collected an army of level 10 mages to war these beasts all throughout the land and send them back where they came. Or, he pauses, or we can banish them from existence. He laughs at his own twisted fantasy. Are there any holes in this explanation you need filling? Yes, there is one thing I still need to know, says Hiroshi. How do you expect me to do any of this? Gomek instantly smiles at this question, showing 2 rows of bone-white teeth. He reaches into his left sleeve with his right hand and pulls out a transparent, glowing potion. This is called the Slumber Growth Potion, a concoction us 5 sorcerers collaborated on. After drinking this, you will fall asleep. While sleeping, you must navigate through your dreams to let the potion raise your mage level. You will awaken once you reach level 20. Higroshi takes his time answering, turning the invitation over in his head. Your answer is needed now, good mage. You are the last ally to be recruited. If you will join us, I must inform the other lords immediately. All right, answers Higroshi. I'll join. Contestant, teleportation spheres, please. Contestant walks over to the lord, and the mage and hands them both spheres. You and Creek are in charge of keeping my castle in its current state of order. Yes, sir. Let us go now, Higroshi. They break the spheres, and I'll whisk off to the destination. 4. The first thing Higroshi's senses pick up is the smell. The air is clean and fresh and smells of lye. Then his vision begins, and he can see he is in a rectangular-shaped room with 5 beds lining the far wall. 4 of the beds have occupants who are either laying down, awake, or sitting upright. 1 bed is empty. Gomek leads Higroshi to the empty bed. Wait here while I go speak to the other lords. I expect we will be back soon to give you and your soon-to-be teammates the slumber growth. Make yourself comfortable, for I do not know when exactly. And with that, Gomek exits the room. Higroshi looks to the others. The bed on the far side's occupant is reading a book while laying down. The next 2 mages are sitting cross-legged on their own beds, facing each other, one of them showing off a sure-to-be homemade illusion spell of light. The last mage is sitting with his feet on the ground and his hands in his lap. He looks up from studying his hands and turns to Higroshi. How goes it, fellow mage? I'll let you know when I get some rest. Yeah, understood. He turns his body and offers a handshake. Higroshi shakes his hand. I'm Hetsu. Higroshi. They say it's good luck to meet someone with the same first letter in their name as you. Luck is too low in magic components for me to bother with it. True, it is low in magic components. Luck only usually gives a small difference in the reality, like almost tripping, or finding a coin in the road. But then there are times it will save your life, I suppose. Supposition is all luck requires, says Hetsu. All it requires. To Higroshi, Hetsu seems mad, like something is slightly off with him. His hair is bone white and growing wildly. His eyes are forest green, and his robes are the same color. His skin is pale. Almost proving Higroshi's first impression of him, Hetsu is not wearing shoes. Higroshi wants to ask him why, but thought it better to leave it be. I am a level 8 traditional mage, meaning I can only do spells made by others, but I do them with true precision. And I am Undercrobe. And you? Undercrobe? The sorcerer to pick you is who you are under. I made this up hoping the others will follow suit. He repeats the question. And you? I am under Gomek, level 7.9 Soul Searcher. Hetsu's eyes widen. The mage at the far end of the room closes his book and looks to Higroshi, along with the mage casting the illusion spell and the mage observing it. Higroshi is approached by the mage who was reading the book. Hello, Higroshi under Gomek. I am Evner under Federer, level 8.4. Higroshi gives Evner a friendly nod. Evner is wearing pitch black robes, making his white skin contrast in a shocking way. His hair is black and closely cropped with no facial hair at all. He seems young, maybe 20 years old. I think I should say, in case you recognize this maker robes, these are indeed the robes of the Heredity Gang, a guild of dark mages. My Lord Federer sensed my magical prowess. His agents convinced me to denounce my dark energy and shift into light. The dark always has room for the unknown, but the light is simply known, replies Higroshi. Ulanus under Bleezy, level 9 traditional mage, says the mage, who was observing the illusion spell. He waves as he makes his way to Higroshi. He's older than Higroshi, maybe 45 years old. White skin and semi-long gray hair on his head, and stubble on his face, seeming like he has been too busy to shave the last few days. His robes are light brown with a mud-brown belt around his waist. Attached to the belt on all sides are vials of potions. I am the apothecary of Bleezy's land. I helped the 5 lords create the slumber growth, but I cannot claim ownership, for I only lended a hand. Menzi under Huden, says the female mage, who was casting the illusion spell. She wears sunflower yellow robes and white flats. Her blonde hair flows like liquid gold, and her blue eyes shine like spring skies. As she walked over to Hiroshi, all were mesmerized at her slow, deliberate steps. She extends her delicate hand to Hiroshi, who takes it, and immediately feels her magic ability radiating from her skin. I am from the Flame Clan, daughter to the chief. Though my actual level is 6.4, Lord Huden says my ability exists above this. I am a Creaton Magi, or a Creation Mage, meaning I specialize in creating my own spells. She looks at the others around the room, and back at Hiroshi. Are you really a soul surger? Yes, replies Hiroshi simply. Prove it. Manzi moves closer. Give me your hands. She holds out her hands, and Hiroshi puts his in them. Identify him, cast Manzi. Hiroshi's hands start to glow white. He really is, she admits. There's a chance he will be stronger than all of us, says Hetsu. Soul Surgers can outlast all other types of mages when it comes to tiring out. Their mana will not diminish, for the soul is eternal. No. Everyone turns to Evner. There is a spell to easily corrupt the Soul Surger's magic. It cuts off the connection between the soul and the body. It doesn't kill them, usually, but it will stop their magic abilities. You wouldn't know a spell like that, you heredity freak, snaps Ulanus. I'm sorry, but it is hard to believe our lords would allow a dark mage to help us. It is unacceptable. He storms back to his bed. Eventually, they all went back to their beds, to await the 5 sorcerers. Hiroshi is now laying down in his bed, staring at the lighting orb floating high around the room, making shadows move eerily. The door opens, and in comes the 5 sorcerers looking wealthy and important. Behind them are 2 women in white skirts and blouses. Hello, allies. Out of them it is Lord Federer who speaks. We will now give you the slumber growth, but first we will explain a few things. Firstly, these potions will take effect immediately, so I suggest you all lay down now. They do so. Now, while you're under the influence of slumber growth, you will not just go to sleep then wake up. You are about to enter a maze of the mind. Estimated time of sleep is 1 week. These lovely nurses, he gestures to the women in white, are here to change your clothes, feed you, bathe you, and generally to take care of you. The nurses wave. When you awaken, we will build your strength back up and test your new magic abilities. Is everything clear, mages? Asks Gomek. They all answer with yeses and nods. The sorcerers hand their allies the slumber growth, and they all begin to drink. To Hiroshi it tastes like sweet blood or a mix of metal and honey. While they're drinking, Lord Bleezy raises his hand to the light orb, making it dim. As soon as they all finish the contents of the vials, Bleezy turns the orb completely off, so everyone in the room is only seeing black figures with no detail. Soon the allies are swept off into themselves. 5. Why are you still here? Hiroshi assumes the question is directed to him. He turns around and sees a figure standing in the dark. I'm leaving, he replies. Well, be quick about it. Behind the figure, he can see the outline of a door, with light showing through the cracks. Should I walk past the man? What if he's dangerous? Hiroshi sees 2 choices to make. He can run past the man and hope he doesn't attack him, or he can attack the man right off the bat. Wait, maybe he can immobilize the man. He decides to cast a spell, making his target immobile for 3 seconds. Freem Trimo! The man is now perfectly still. Hiroshi hurries past the man and grabs hold of the doorknob. Locked. He looks back at the man to see him walking toward him, with one outstretched hand aiming for Hiroshi's throat. Havalra! The figure is thrown backward into the empty blackness. Nothing sounded, signaling the figure hitting the ground. Hiroshi couldn't wait for it either. He kicks the door open and exits. All around him now is pure white. He looks to the sky and sees billowy red clouds. He looks to the ground, and on the white floor are yellow pebbles. I've been here before, he exclaims. I can run really fast here. He takes off running. He's moving so fast. The red clouds and the yellow pebbles become a ceiling and floor, and he's in a realm of red, white, and yellow. Higroshi now feels like he's been running for ages. He comes to the theory, as one with unlimited time might, that everything that ever existed is the product of the colors red, white, and yellow. He is tired of this place now. Wanting to leave so badly, he takes the first action to come to his mind and decides to jump. Still in running motion, he bends his legs and shoots up with all his might. For a few seconds, all he sees is red, and then he is in space, surrounded by stars, light years and light years away. He looks down to see the red sphere he was just in. It is getting smaller by the second. What feels like an hour has passed, and he is still looking at the sphere, which is now just a red dot. If red is down, what is up? He thinks with dreaming logic. He looks up and sees a blue dot. In an hour it is a globe, and he is approaching fast. He starts to panic because he has no way of stopping. Then, impact. Blue. It has always been blue. I regret ever believing otherwise. His whole world is now blue. There is no Higroshi in this place. He died on impact. He cannot move. He cannot hear. Wait, can he hear? He listens closely. He hears breathing. His own. Higroshi has been resurrected. Listening closer, he can hear others breathing too. He has just realized the blue has faded out, and all he sees is black. I must still be sleeping, he realizes. He tries to move, but can't. Stay still, he hears. They're trying to hold me down. Higroshi starts to struggle. Don't move and you will go, the voice states. Higroshi ignores it and keeps on trying to break free. Don't move and you will go. What do they mean? Higroshi wonders. Who is it, anyway? Deep in thought, he eventually stops struggling. Open your eyes, the voice says. He opens them and sees he is sitting upright on a big woven pillow. He looks around and sees he is in a circle with Hetsu, Evner, Ulanis, and Menti, who are also sitting on pillows, eyes closed and heads down. The walls, ceiling, and floor of the room they're in is tannish white marble. The room is spacious, but there is no door, only a wide window with sunlight beaming onto the floor. Higroshi leans to the side and puts his hand on the sun-warmed area. It feels like pure energy. Higroshi! He sits back up and looks across from him to see Hetsu looking back. Where are we? He asks. We were all trying to figure that out. Higroshi realizes Hetsu's lips aren't moving. We came to no answers about that, but what we did figure out was everything that is said in this room to others is true. False statements and lies stay in your own head. Ulanis figured our lords put in the potion a thought mixing component, allowing whoever drinks it to be in contact with others who drank it as well. Ulanis raises his head, gives a single wave of his hand to greet Higroshi, then returns back to his meditative state. Maybe to find your bearings, you can say something directly to each of us. The rest of them raise their heads and give their full attention to Higroshi. Higroshi sits there for a moment, trying to think of something to say to Evner, the first person to his left. Nothing comes to mind. Try using magic to communicate, Hetsu says. Send out your mystic energy, and the words will form automatically. Evner, Higroshi begins, I hold no prejudice against you and your dark past. Evner smiles. Ulanis, if you go out of line with Evner again, I'll have you regret ever being in a realm where magic exists. Ulanis shows no clear expression. It certainly isn't a positive one. Hetsu, I believe I'll be able to trust you above all other allies. I hope we stay friends even after Merlo is destroyed. I hope so as well, Higroshi. Hetsu appears to be laughing, but no sound comes out. Menzi, he turns to the last ally. You have to be the most attractive thing I have ever seen. Menzi blushes. If I wasn't already married, you would be my #1 priority. If only I was allowed to marry outside my clan, Menzi says in a playful tone. If you have a goal for the future of the same nature, it is not a goal, it is simultaneous fate, explains Higroshi. In that case, we have something to look forward to. Menzi smiles as she puts a misbehaving strand of hair behind her ear. For an immeasured amount of time they all sit in silence. Hiroshi becomes restless and walks to the wide window. Looking down, he can see he is very high up in what seems to be a tower, not unlike the place he was teleported to before meeting Gomek. The tower is surrounded by thick woodlands, with a single road beginning at the base of the tower, winding all the way to the horizon. The sky is blue and cloudless. He looks to his right to see Menzi also looking out the window. I wonder, Menzi begins, what could possibly be down there among the trees? If this place is a dream, why are we surrounded by something so vast, only to ultimately be an illusion? Maybe this place is real and we are the illusion, Hiroshi retorts. Maybe. Just then Hiroshi hears a loud bang. He looks out the window and sees movement at the base of the tower. The tower is being invaded, says Hiroshi to the others. Hetsu, Uranus, and Abner all rush to the window. Hawksight, casts Menzi. She peers down at the intruders. They'll go with demons, she says in cold terror. Don't worry, says Uranus. There is no way they can get into this room. You may want to reassess the situation, Uranus. They all turn toward Hetsu, who is the farthest from the window. All their stomachs drop as they catch sight of the flimsy wooden door behind him. Announcing their arrival, a Delgoa demon behind the door lets out a hellish roar. The door is then ripped from its hinges and thrown to the side as a single Delgoa demon enters the room. The skin of the demon is blood red and has two curved black horns coming out of its head. The eyes are yellow with a ring of red circling the pupil. Its teeth are as sharp as razors. The build of the Delgoa demon is twice the mass of a human in height and muscle. The hoofs for feet clamp with each step as it makes its way to the mages. Havalora, casts Hiroshi. The impact of the spell was nothing more than a push to the Delgoa. He continues to advance. Menzi takes a lengthy step forward and extends her arms, palms facing the Delgoa. Flame Court, she casts, sending yellow flames pouring out of her hand and onto the Delgoa, making it fall to the ground and back to the flames it was born in. Well done, Menzi, says Uranus. Thanks, but my mana is dangerously low after that. I need to rest. No worries, I can handle the next one. Uranus steps in front of Menzi and goes into his fighting stance, feet together, standing straight, with one hand clenched into a fist and pointed at the doorway. The next Delgoa enters the room and is killed instantly after Uranus casts the spell Rucivicis, putting a giant hole in its chest. 5 Delgoa were killed this way, until Uranus could cast the spell no longer. Uranus and Menzi have used all of their mana, and Abner does not know any light energy spells, and cannot use the evil spells he would normally use. It is now up to Hetsu and Hiroshi to rid their once sacred room of the terrible Delgoa. I do not see how we will win, admits Hetsu. He moves to the window and points to the incoming Delgoa. There are hundreds outside. How many more can we kill? 10? 15? What do you suggest we do? Asks Hiroshi. Hetsu pauses for a moment and looks directly at Hiroshi. We aim to kill 50. And so Hetsu and Hiroshi fight valiantly. They soon defeat 5. They fight on and defeat 15. They fight on still and kill 15 more. Hetsu runs out of mana, and Hiroshi is overwhelmed by the beasts from hell, until their inevitable defeat puts the 5 allies in darkness. 6. Vital signs are good, Hiroshi hears from a woman. Heart rate is slightly elevated, as expected. Hiroshi, can you hear me? He opens his eyes and sees one of the nurses he was introduced to before he went to sleep standing over him. Don't try to sit up yet. You're still weak. You've been asleep for 6 days. How do you feel? Any pains? No. No, I'm fine. Hiroshi mumbles, putting no effort into really communicating. When he was asleep, communicating was easy. You just felt a certain way, and the others understood. Reality is so unsure, thinks Hiroshi. So easy for things to be misheard. When you feel ready, you can sit up slowly. He does so with relative ease. He looks to the other beds in the room, and they're all empty. You just missed the others. They've all been ordered to go to the banquet hall to eat. Banquet hall? Where are we? It's not my place to say. I'll let the lords answer that. The nurse gives Hiroshi muscle responding tests, and then leads him out of the room and through what looks like one of the lord's castles. As they pass by doorways, Hiroshi peers into the rooms to find mages deep in conversation or hard at work. Hiroshi notices he no longer wears the robes he arrived in. They are just plain white. But then he senses something emanating from them, large quantities of magic power. He guesses it is a magic enchantment put on them to ward off nasty spells and better his own spells, offensive or otherwise. Finally, they reach the closed banquet hall doors. The doors reach the towering height of the ceiling, maybe 20 feet high. They seem heavy, but as the nurse pushes one open with a single hand, this proves to be false. The banquet hall is a vast area with chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and 3 long tables reaching from one side of the hall to the other. The other allies are sitting at the far table to the right. They are all wearing the same white robes he has on. Hetsu sees Hiroshi and waves him over. As he approaches the allies, he notices something different about their eyes. All of them are glowing a brilliant gold color. A side effect from the slumber growth, says Abner, pointing to his eyes, and a gift from our lords. Menzi takes a small mirror out of her pocket and hands it to Hiroshi. He smiles as he studies the gold iris of his eyes. Sit over here, Hiroshi. Hetsu gestures to the seat opposite of his. Now that you're here, we can eat. He gives a thumbs up to a man at the other end of the banquet hall. He answers the signal with a nod and disappears behind 2 doors leading to a kitchen. Moments later, the man Hiroshi assumes to be the cook returns with 5 others carrying trays. The trays are put in front of the allies, and the covers are lifted from them showing what they will be eating: roasted chicken, potatoes, and vegetables. Hiroshi devours the meal and puts a mug of ale, the same ale Gomek was drinking, bottom up. Now all of them have finished. The chef comes back and informs them they must await their lord's return. How do you all feel? Asks Menzi. I feel like summoning a mountain, Yulana says with a smirk. I doubt you have that spell, laughs Menzi. You're a creatine magi, right? You can create one for me. I'll produce a spell when you give me some more of that slumber growth. I would, but it wouldn't do much good. The slumber growth gives out a stationary number. It won't raise your level past 20, and if your level is 20 or higher, it will probably only give you a headache. The lords enter the banquet hall and hurriedly collect the allies and lead them to a solitary place, a room found after a time of navigating through the castle. Sorry, allies, says Crobe. We were just fighting a rogue gang of Delgoa demons. Apparently they have been colonizing the countryside they invaded. A few dozen of them decide they want to break into the castle, Lord Federer's castle. Our mages took care of them with somewhat ease. If it had been an army of Delgoa, I'm afraid we wouldn't have fared well. But the matter has been handled. Now we can begin your training. Hiroshi notices each lord is carrying a book. We have with us 5 handwritten books made by us to teach you the spells we will need you to know. We all collaborated on the majority of their contents. With slight changes made to the book, you will be given by your direct lord. This will ensure you all learn the same spells, along with a few things we couldn't agree to teach you as a unit. Training begins immediately. Wearing robes, the color of dried blood, a crow-black hooded cloak, and an amulet embedded with a black jewel hanging from his neck, Merlot sits brooding in a secluded room of his underground lair, with tired eyes locked onto a seeing stone. He has been watching for days, making sure his Delgoa demons do as instructed. Lord Federer's lane is closest to being completely seized. The thought of this puts a wicked smile on Merlot's face. What is this? He wonders, as he senses the deaths of many Delgoa. He checks his seeing stone and sees a demon settlement being overrun by a gang of mages. Pah! Curses Merlot aloud. A gang of vexed mages taking back their land, eh? A measly setback. I'll set this straight. He stands and stretches like he has just awoken from an afternoon nap. Clistononymia Mernarito Quickek, he casts, and teleports out of the gloom-filled room without using a teleportation sphere. He appears at the entrance of his underground lair, a metal door in the ground, on an island uninhabited by people. The door is located on the far reaches of the island's yellow sanded beach. Trees scatter all around the entrance. The trees become more dense, traveling to the center of the island, but Merlot's destination lies in the other direction. Looking over the watery horizon, he can just make out the shores of Lord Bleezy's land. The sun is down now, leaving orange, pink, and purple traces of itself in the sky. Boom, Merlot casts, and takes flight. He navigates the sky, spiraling up until he's looking down at the entire island. Then, with a whip of his cloak, he shoots for the landscape ahead, where the mages fighting for territory will meet their end. The majority of time flying, Merlin practiced complete focus, his only distraction being the rushing sound of the wind. But over time, the wind went from being a distraction to a droning constant aid to his focus. As he touches down on Bleezy's land, the Delgoa and the mages in the midst of battle all stop and stare at the evil sorcerer. A mage in green and gold robes walks up to Merlot and addresses him. Merlot, dismiss your demons at once. We demand our land back. 3 other mages walk up and stand behind their leader. Merlot throws his head back and bells out a threatening cackle. You people are a waste of magic, weak and ignorant. The Delgoa all start to make wild, rambunctious noises. I will not dismiss my army from this land until it is mine. Mine. This is a fact you will have to die with. Our rage will not stay dormant, sorcerer. Do not be mistaken about that. Ha! I welcome your rage. Strike with all your might, mage. Crush it all, the mage casts bravely. A ball of blue energy materializes in front of the mage and bullets to the amused sorcerer. With a wave of his hand, Merlin deflects the spell and sends it back to its maker. The mage screams in pain as the blue energy starts to eat away at his flesh like the behavior of acid. Grashedokin Luminous Erotica, casts Merlot. A transparent bubble begins to take form around the evil man. The remaining mages begin to flee, but it is too late. Blue energy begins to form all around them. With a surge of power, the mages and the Delgoa all deteriorate in a gruesome flash. Merlot waits for the spell to dissipate, then dismisses the bubble. Boon he casts, and flies back to his lair. 7. To truly master the art of magic, you must first know how it began in this realm, explained Lord Federer. The allies sit in a room, giving their attention to Lord Federer, who was standing with his back to a transparent wall that shows the Lord's garden filled with flowers and herbs. The Lords Gomek, Krove, and Bleezy all had matters to attend to, leaving Federer to give the allies their first lesson, and Huden to stay and help when needed. There once was a boy who was relentlessly looked down upon for his looks, for his roots, and for his lack of accomplishments. He would say, I want to go this way, and everyone would say, we're going the other way. He would say, the weather is good, while it was raining, which made everyone deem rain bad weather. One day the people of our realm began to worry because of weird occurrences of the sun. Every day it would look weaker. On a terrifying day, the sun was looking like it wouldn't make it. It was summer and snowing. This was also a day the boy felt very low. The people wouldn't let him eat. They wouldn't let him use his bed. They even banished him from his house. He was left to roam the streets until he came across a crowd of priests that had come together to heal the sun with their prayers. A crowd formed around them, and they all began to chant things, or bow their heads, or just look on in a silent panic. Then the sun went out. Everyone in the realm felt their life being sucked from their bodies. People ran around screaming. A man with all hope lost stopped next to the boy and screamed, the sun has died! And the boy's heart dropped. After all the torment of his miserable life, it would end like this? Nay, the boy whispered under his breath. He wouldn't accept the last words he ever heard, to be a statement telling him how his life would go. He looked toward the man and shouted, "Nay!" Everyone stopped panicking and turned toward him. He continued, "The sun will live!" And the sun burst into a rekindled flame of life. The boy was thanked endlessly for saving their world and everyone in it. He was thrown a celebration that lasted for 30 days. They treated him with the kindness he always longed for and then some. After the festivities ended, a woman asked him, "Boy, I fear I don't know your name. What is it?" He turned to her and said, "My name is Mage." Menzi gasps. "Indeed, Menzi, indeed," replies Frieder. Mage then spent the next 200 years constructing thousands of spells that today we call traditional spells. Once he felt he could improve this realm no longer, he moved on. But before he did, he fathered 2 sons, Crow and Gomek. "Tell them about the level system," says Huden. "Right. So at first, Mage wanted everyone to have his level of ability. When Crow, the oldest over Gomek, turned 3 years old, Mage gave all his magic capabilities to him. Crow's mind was instantly put into chaos, and through no fault of his own, he killed his mother, Mage's wife Hefin. Crow was detached from his mage abilities immediately. Gomek only being 1 year old at the time, he needed a mother, so Mage remarried, a woman named Cleomore, who was a soothsayer. It was then Mage came up with the level system. He gave everyone the ability to use magic, but they would have to study his spells and work hard. I don't know if you know this, allies, but the highest mage level you can have is 100. Mage's level was 101. He did this because he felt like he was the only person in the realm that truly knew what was best. So even if someone were to know all of his spells and have thousands of their own, he would still be able to overpower them and keep control. Of course, no one ever did reach 100. Even now, the highest mage level in the realm is Bleezy's at 29.9. Gomek is 29.3. Crobe is 28.7. I am 28.6. And little Federer here is 25.3, Lord Huden laughs. "Don't let this corrupted mind corrupt yours as well," says Lord Federer. "Levels 20 to 30 are very evenly matched. These 10 levels are mainly based on reviewing your past spells and becoming fluent with them. To conclude your lesson, magic lies within the confines of levels." "How did Huden, Bleezy, and Federer become lords?" asked Sigrosi. "We were chosen by Krob and Gomek," explains Lord Federer. "We were friends growing up in the same village. As young teenagers, the brothers showed and taught us all the things he was being taught by their father. When Mage found out, he accepted it and eventually welcomed it. We became young adults with the magic capabilities over all the other mages in the realm. You see, Mage ruled every part of this land on his own, with the help of hired assistants, and it became very challenging for him. He moved on from the realm and left it in our hands, and we've been ruling ever since, for the last 500 years as Lord Huden. Before we all retire, I would like to explain to you all why you were chosen," says Lord Federer. "Hetsu, you were chosen for your Krob effect. All of the mages who were taught under Krob, whether they were taught directly by him or just by someone in his land, have a special gift because of what happened when he was 3. Krob and the mages under him are able to access level 101 on rare occasions. Hetsu here could access it as much as Krob can, for unknown reasons. Menzi, you were chosen because you are the most equipped Creaton Magi alive. How many spells do you have? 900? 1019. You have more than I, young beauty. We lords will teach you to be fluent in your spells and how to improve their components. Evner, you were the most difficult for us to decide to have you be an ally. You had the you had the magic abilities at level 8.4 that we have now, but you only know spells of the evil kind, unfortunately giving you no light energy experience and really stunting your mage growth. You may have to work the hardest, but you can be as useful as the rest of the allies. On a solemn note, I'm saddened at the amount of dark energy tribes in my land. In a way," Lord Federer pauses for a moment, You are here to assist me in the redemption of our maddened times. Ulanus, you were chosen for your knowledge in traditional spells, and your ability to mimic others' magic. You may be the most adept mage we have here. In fact, Lord Blazer will collect you after you get a night's rest to assist him on a side mission. Higrosi, you were chosen for your constant determination, your knowledge in traditional spells, and your ability to make your own spells. Soul Searchers have the potential to do what all other types of mages can do, and still there is a mystery behind their capabilities. Trust you are necessary to save our realm. Federer looks behind him and sees the sun fairly low in the sky. Let us end your first lesson now, and allow this information to set in. Lord Hewden and Lord Federer lead the allies to the Mage Dorm, a section of the castle for the mages to sleep, study, and socialize amongst themselves. Only the allies and the lords are allowed in. It does not take long for the allies to become accustomed to the Mage Dorm. Once Lord Federer and Lord Hewden take their leave, the allies explore the whole dorm, the main room, their private individual rooms, the kitchen, and a few more rooms with no exact purpose for them, and eventually all come back to the main room to sit in 5 regal chairs surrounding a round table. We must be thankful to our lords for this living arrangement, says Hetsu. I've seen better places to live. It will do, though, remarks Ulanus. After growing up in the slums of Lord Federer's land, you can live anywhere. This place is an unmistaken improvement, says Ebner. I believe there are more important matters to speak of than the quality of the mage dorm, says Menzie. For instance, how can we live in this realm for the ages we have and not be aware of the story of Mage? It isn't new to me, says Ulanus. I have heard a similar story to it when I first joined the Heredity gang, says Ebner. According to the Heredity version, after Mage saved the realm, there were some who did not share the joy and gratitude most did. These few deemed what Mage did an unholy act. But as I said, these people were few. They cannot convince the majority to see that Mage changed the fate God had set for us, so their beliefs stayed underground. As time passed, these people broke off into 3 categories: Heredity Gang, Grip Growth, and the biggest of all, Mage Dominance. All 3 preached that Mage was supposed to stay below all others to contain the evil powers he possessed. They believed that once all light energy is destroyed, the sun will die, and they will go to heaven for the fact that they upheld God's decision. Why did you leave the Heredity Gang? Asked Ulanus. Isn't it obvious? Lord Federer's agents convinced me these accusations of unholiness are false, that it was actually the evil ways of the people of this realm that drained the sun. God didn't cause the sun to die. We did. Right, Ulanus says at an almost inaudible volume. Right is right, Mizzy exclaimed with a smile. She looks out the window to see the sun has slid under the horizon, and the world around them is encased in darkness. I suggest we all retire to our beds now, and continue our conversation tomorrow. They all nod in agreement, leave the table, and drift to sleep in their newly appointed beds. 8. Ulanus the Accomplished, a mere apothecary, is a powerful traditional mage, with the potential to become a lord himself. But there is something stirring in him, a strange feeling of being misplaced by fate. He was raised by his father Ulanarius to cast aside his own opinions and to gorge on power. When Ulanarius was killed by a member of the Mage Dominus clan, Ulanus only strengthened his alliance with light energy. His father used to say, dark energy is doomed to fail, like with the coming of Mage, and light energy will continue on with us. He lays in his Mage dorm room awake, eyes closed, and in the same position as when he was asleep. His father's words have been heavy on his mind ever since Abner told the allies about the dark energy clans. It sickens him that he cannot create an opinion of his own. It is actually dormant in him, caused by a lifetime of suppression. Would I be able to convert to dark energy? Do I even have the ability? Would I be as accomplished with dark energy? You would be greater. Ulanus jerks up out of his half-slumber. He sits there in the dark, trying to come to a conclusion of where this answer came from. He searches his mind feverishly. Must have been caused by my new magic potency, he thinks aloud. Right, magic potency. Through his closed door he hears people laughing. He exits his room to investigate. Higroshi, Abner, and Hetsu sit at the round table, laughing and applauding. Ulanus approaches the table to see a brown-haired rabbit running circles around the perimeter of the table in a frenzy. Hopping to the middle of the table exhausted, the furry creature stands on its hind legs and falls on its back. Ulanus blinks. On the table replacing the rabbit is Menzi, on her back, laughing joyously. Oh, hey, Ulanus. Menzi spots Ulanus looking at them in a questioning manner. There's breakfast made in the kitchen. We already ate. I won't be eating. My magic is better with the natural drive of hunger. To each his decision, Menzi replies and hops off the table. Have you any information on the mission Bleezy will have you on? Hetsu asks. No. Ah. There's silence for a moment. I sent someone at the door, says Higroshi. Inwardly, he is beaming at the notion that his magic abilities have improved this much. 5 solid knocks sound at the door, followed by Bleezy entering. Good. Ulanus, you are awake. Are you prepared to leave? Yes, my lord. Bleezy gestures for Ulanus to follow. They exit the room, leaving the 4 remaining allies to wonder about and imagine the task Ulanus has been sent on. I bet Ulanus is about to fight off a bunch of Delgoa and Dark Mages, Hetsu offers. I'm highly doubtful of this, Menzi says. I imagine him helping Lord Bleezy with a potion, or collecting the right type and amount of herbs. This is where Ulanus' skills lie, or so he told me in the Slumber Growth room while I was demonstrating an illusion spell. Was anyone informed on what we'll be doing on this day? Higroshi inquires. I am eager to begin. Krog will come and let us know now, Evner states. How do you know? asks Higroshi. Another knock on the door, and in comes Krog. How did you... Higroshi's question trails off. Evner smiles. Bleezy speedily walks down Lord Feeder's hallways, with Ulanus keeping up with him with effort. He wears Lythrum purple robes and boots of the same color. Around his neck are thick gold links forming a chain, with a large amethyst gem hanging from it. His skin is dark brown, and his black curly hair is combed heavily and pulled back, not unlike Gomek's, though Bleezy's is much longer. Ulanus, there is no time to speak to you with caution. Your family is fighting off a band of Dagoa demons in your home. Your mother and 3 of your brothers are all who remain. Ulanus says nothing. There is a spell I have created that will instantly kill a Dagoa. Look straight into its eyes and cast Heli Trivial. It will confuse it to the point of death. Still in Lord Feeder's castle, they enter a room with shelves and shelves of teleportation spheres. Bleezy looks through rows of spheres as one would look for a book in a library. He takes 2, hands one to Ulanus, and immediately teleports. Ulanus follows. Ulanus reappears in a world of total chaos. Houses are burning, demons are running rampant, and the streets are rivers of blood. Creating even more in Ulanus a feeling of distress, the sun has not yet arrived to shine down a sense of hope. Bleezy puts a hand on Ulanus' shoulder. Be strong, mage. You will witness things better left in hell. Bleezy holds his gaze on Ulanus for a moment, attempting to find fear or hesitation from his ally. He finds neither. They start for their destination in a half-walk, half-jogging fashion, trying to get there as fast as possible, without tiring themselves. Just ahead of them, a Dagoa demon walks out of a house, holding a dead body by the neck. It spots them, drops the body, and runs straight for them. Heavy trivial casts Ulanus. 3 more leaps and it would have tackled them and ended their lives. Instead, the demon stops in its tracks. Its eyes widen as the spell takes effect. The Delgoan demon roars, just before it kneels and starts smashing its head against the ground. Bleezy and Ulanus do not wait to watch it die. Luckily, the rest of the trek to Ulanus' home is without incident. Jaileros, Ulanus calls out to his older brother as he reaches for the doorknob. The door swings open, and there stands Jaileros, face covered with blood and grime. My brother, you have come. Jaileros proceeds to return to his position in the front room, securing it from Dagoa. Bleezy and Ulanus follow him there, a chair on the far wall keeping his ultimate attention to the single door and the 3 windows to the side. Our young brothers Vane and Fullen are keeping post in the upstairs rooms, rotating to keep watch on all 3. Our mother is upstairs with them if you would like to speak with her. He looks to Lord Bleezy. My lord, thank you endlessly for assisting us. You are of my land, and so you deserve I assist you in this ordeal. Ulanus and Bleezy then quickly leap up the stairs and meet Ulanus' mother, Crusher. They find her in a room with Vane, who keeps a defiant stare out the window on the ground below. Ulanus, you have returned to save us. My word, your eyes! Crusher is in a state of excitement, relief, gratefulness, and the emotion a mother gets when her son has been found after being lost for weeks. Mother, are you okay? What has become of our home? It has, along with the other houses in our village, been shifted into a war zone. They've been coming in waves, the demons, letting us believe the last time they were here would be their last. Here, take this. Ulanus receives the object. It is a barrier charm. He flips the red disc over in his hands and attempts to read the old-style lettering. It says, "Possess me and I'll keep watch." Keep it close at hand, and it will alert you when you are in danger. He looks over at Bleezy, who was talking to Vane by the window. Thank you, Mother. Where should we take our positions? It would be best to assist Jaileros with securing the downstairs. Vane and Fullen and I have this floor covered. Go now and be our shield and weapon. As Bleezy returns from speaking with Vane, he turns back to him and says, I suggest you share the spell I briefly explained to you with your brother and mother. With that, Bleezy and Ulanus return to the first floor. Jaileros tells his lord and his younger brother how he has been keeping watch of his house. Bleezy gives him his input and improves his system so that it includes them in it. They are all now in separate rooms, but within sight and earshot of each other. My lord, if I may ask, why do we continue to stay here and not claim sanctuary in your castle? Jaileros says to Bleezy, his voice slightly elevated. I suspect this is what Merlin wants of us. I cannot jeopardize the safety of my castle or any of the other lords' castles. Our only hope is to war with them until we cannot. Demons on the approach, Vane yells down the stairs. A gang of them coming up the front steps. The allies are being led through a side door of Lord Feudor's castle by Lord Hewden. We will not venture past the outer wall of the kingdom, but the majority of the day will be spent outside, he explains to the adept mages. As I said earlier, elemental spells are our objective to learn. Igrosi flashes an uncontrolled grin to himself. Elemental spells are his specialty. He studies all types of spells, but the elements bring him joy, wonder, accomplishment, challenge, and the feeling of understanding something so basic, yet complex enough to shape the very earth under his feet. As they walk past Feudor's people, workers, civilians, a few agents, mages that have come back from war in the Dalgoa, many of them bow their heads in respect to Lord Hewden. Higrossi heard a few of them mention the Allies' gold eyes. It made him feel like he was important. In fact, he was important. The realm's future must be saved by the handful of mages the lords have collected. They end their trek on a grassy hillside, shaded by a willow tree, with their eyes and ears locked on the river not far from them, cutting through the land. The first element to be under observation is Earth, the most balanced and controllable. Hewden sits in the shade of the tree and waves everyone over to do the same. They all sit in a circle. I don't know if you realize this, allies, but Earth is a being that holds no prejudice to anyone. It will tell you anything, and let its own already predetermined laws decide your future. Hewden then pulls out a tool used for digging, and punctures the ground, then cranks the tool like a lever, only once. As the tool rises, it brings with it soil of the purest type. This is named Lend soil, the cleanest soil, thanks to the mages Ol, the soul searcher, and Krenzi, the Creaton Magi. They combine their magic capabilities and transformed the soil in Lord Feudor's kingdom with soil that destroyed anything harmful to humans, whether they were mages or not. Amazing, said Menzi, in a tone Higrossi felt to be amazing itself. Sadly, though, Hewden has a moment of silence as his fingers sift through the holy dirt. They did not live to experiment on the conclusion of their spell. The anti-mage mage dominance killed them before they were able to help the rest of the soil in the realm. I was told, says Evner. Old and Krenzi died because soul surges and creatons aren't supposed to mix. Evner, I must stop you right there. Some things need to be left unheard. He burst out laughing. What do you mean? It's not that we shun others' information on a subject. Things must be said at certain times. Avner wore a look of confusion at that. His eyes scanned the floor for answers. Suddenly, he looked up and said, Soul surges and creatons have conflicting energies. Lord Hunan gave him a reprimanding glare. Get out. Avner looked at him and smiled, saying, Make me. Lord Hunan lost the anger in his face just then, with worry now dwelling there. Sleep insistence. Avner looks at Menzi, who conjured the spell, with a childish, no fear at all expression, then laid back with a thump, legs still crossed. Thank you, Menzi. To be honest, a battle with Evner is what I don't want. Psh, ha! Evner doesn't scare me. Ha! Hetsu rambunctiously says. Neither does he scare me. I just don't want you guys to be intimidated by the fast-learning ways of dark energy. There are rumors of dark energy being able to double their opponent's power, then use it against them. I don't want to do this. I didn't want to do this, but it looks like at the end of the lesson, I will need to show you defensive spells for Evner's magic. But anyway, let us grow our individual beings. 9. They're coming more frequently, announces Jeleros. Each wave is growing in size. My will grows weaker, Bleezy, says Ulanus, along with my energy. Bleezy takes a moment to think, weighing out his options, all the while leaning on a fighting staff he snatched from a Gargoyle before killing it. The Gargoyles seem to be very organized in their attacks, which tells me they have a captain or a general, maybe. The only way to defeat them is to take out their leader and weaken them strategically. Lizzie takes the staff in both hands and enchants it. Physical, heli trivial. The staff is now glowing a deep orange. He looks back at the ally and his brother. We go to find the leader. And my family, asks Ulanus. They come with us. Ulanus wastes no time with debating. He leaps upstairs and collects Vane, Fullen, and Crescent. It is just before sunrise now. The gloom of night still holds on, not wanting to let go. The group travels by alleyway, observing the Gargoyle from around corners, using whatever is around as cover so the demons do not see them. Suddenly, Blizzy becomes aware of a magical being not 3 houses down from where they are grouped together. Blizzy gathers the courage to look to the house of the being and sees that it is not in an ordinary house. It is in the House of Council. Are you sure it is an evil being, Blizzy? The House of Council can't be taken over, can it? It feels very evil, Ulanus. And if you are skeptical of my sensibility, why did the being hide its whereabouts from us? It would only hide itself from Doggoa, not from humans. Fair enough. What now? We confront him. Ulanus for a moment thinks, then looks to his lord, strong-willed. Lead the way. Bleezy, Ulanus, Jaileros, Vane, Fullen, and Crescent all walk to the House of Council, the location of the magical being. Lord Hunan and the 3 allies, Higrosi, Hetsu, and Menzi, are all in deep concentration over the spells Hunan has instructed them to use on medium-sized pots of improved soil. Higrosi will use the spell Ova Harem Kliski, made by him and Lord Hunan. Hetsu was given Zonzut Ag, made by Lord Crow. Menzi, with the assistance of Lord Hunan, made the spell Men's Synth Rise. With these spells, the soil becomes used to them, making it so what grows in their pot of soil will have the essence of them. Alright, allies, it's time to cast your spell on your pots of improved soil. All at once, the allies cast their spells. The 3 pots burst into a magnificent show of brilliant lights, sparks, and energies mingling amongst each other. After a few minutes of the electrified earthly dance, the pots of soil died down to a warm glow. Higrosi's soil glows white, Hetsu's glows green, Menzi's glows yellow. Where are the plants, wonders Menzi? All plants take time to grow, even in magic soil. Come, Lord Hunan stands. Let us put the pots of soil in the windows of your mage dorm. Hetsu the Wild, a mere ponderer of thought, is a traditional mage, and he still is amazed at the concept of magic, even though it is not new in this realm. He studies scrolls made when magic first began. As a matter of fact, the reason he doesn't wear shoes is because the scroll "shoes on, shoes off" stated that your feet hold 75% of your magic energy. Every mage he meets tells him this is not true, but Hetsu swears he can feel his power being cut off every time he puts on his boots. Maybe they're uncomfortable, Menzies suggests. All of the allies, besides Ulanus, sit at the round table of the mage dorm, having a discussion about Hetsu and the absence of his shoes. Well, Lady Ally, that would make sense, but it's every type of shoe. Boots, sandal, slipper, you name it. Combat boots, says Evner. I haven't tried those. Why not? They've always seemed uncomfortable. At that they all let out a joyous laugh. I hate to ruin the mood, says Segrossi, but Yolanda still has yet to return. Have you heard the Lord say anything? Not a thing, says Menzie. I hope he's safe. Him and Lord Bleezy. The allies talked for hours, about what they expected to learn from the lords, about how strong Merlo actually was, and more. Finally, Menzie stated, I'm a bit tired of this conversation. She stood up from her chair. Who's up for a little exploration? Should we not get permission from Lord Federer? Asks Hetsu. It is his castle. Oh, come on, replies Menzie. If he says no, we're stuck in the mage dorm. It's better if we just go. I'm staying, says Evner, and crosses his arms. He reminds Hiroshi of a pet animal that flinches after being hit. And you two? Are you also scared of a little reprimanding? Hetsu and Hiroshi look at each other and then to Menzie, and answer at the same time, not in the slightest. The three allies leave the mage dorm, the mage Abner still sitting at the round table, conflicted. The hallway connected to the mage dorm was silent and empty, with a staircase at the one end and a door at the other. Being the leader of the mini-adventure, Hiroshi and Hetsu follow Menzie up the stairs. They continue on the staircase, passing several floors. Eventually, their climb ends with a very short hallway leading to an open door. Going through it, they now see they've climbed to the roof of a tower overseeing all of Lord Federer's land. Venturing off was an excellent suggestion, Menzie, says Hetsu, and brightly smiles. I have many excellent suggestions, she replies, a great perk of being a Cretan Magi. Hiroshi feels like he should say something. Nothing comes to mind. Instead, he enjoys the late afternoon view. 10. My all-powerful lord, may I make a suggestion? Asks the Gremla General Ita. Gremla are a type of magical demon. Unlike the tall and muscular Dagoa, Gremla are short and weak physically, but have the ability to do magic. If your suggestion doesn't help me, I'm going to kill you, says Merlo, in an all too calm tone. Well, Sister Sire, my suggestion is possibly, we can follow through with our plan to kill the five lords a little faster. We've been in this land for a while now, and it just seems that trying to conquer it with the Lord still alive is futile. Excuse me? Merlo stands up from his solid silver chair and peers down at General Ito with his piercing gaze. My plan is going exactly as I expected, and you're worried about time? But my all-powerful lord, there are rumors of the lords having allies, and if this is true, they are growing in power as we speak. Silence! You draw blood for your words. Ya extique! General Ito falls to the ground. Merlo stands there, staring at the spot Ito was just standing. With each breath, his heart calms, and he begins to think more clearly. You know, maybe speeding things up wouldn't be a terrible suggestion. I must see what Gremla General Opet is attending to in the House of Council. Lizzie surveys the area quickly, sees there's no Dalgoa, and walks up to the door of the House of Council. He believes there is a being in there working for Merlo that is helping the Dalgoa. Without knocking, he opens the door and walks in. To his terror, he finds a being he had no idea existed. Wide yellow eyes, long nose, 2 rows of razor-sharp teeth, half his height and a supposedly magic staff in hand. He wanted to shield his eyes from the horror, but remained strong, for this surely had to be an enemy. Who could this be entering my newly acquired home? No. Can it be? Ah, yes, it is Bleezy the Lord. Merlo would be pleased to see me enter his lair with your head. I don't know who you are, beast, but I've come to tell you to leave this land. Leave the realm, for that matter. I am so sorry, Bleezy, but I don't take orders from you. I take them from Merlo. And now you must die. Reeshk! All of a sudden, a yellow electrical storm darts for Bleezy. It just misses him as he leaps to the left and crashes into a bookcase. Ally, now! Just then, the window shatters in, and in tumbles Ulanus. Rucificus casts Ulanus, and just misses the gremlin as the small demon rolls behind a desk. Jethros, looks like we're gonna need you, shouts Ulanus. He waits for an answer from his brother, but hears nothing. Reeshk, the gremlin casts again, this time aiming for Ulanus. Wardloke, casts Ulanus, and encases himself in a magical defensive shell. Bleezy watches the mesmerizing dance of yellow electrical sparks on the green defense shell. Finally, he snaps out of it and rushes toward the demon, glowing orange staff in hand. He jumps into the air, raises it over his head, and brings it down on the demon's head with a stifling crunching sound. The electrical spell stops, and Ulanus is freed. Ulanus walks up to where Bleezy stands over the gremlin, and they both begin to search the fallen enemy's corpse. They find a scroll of evil spells, a flask of what seems to Bleezy to be a healing potion, and a teleportation sphere, destination unknown. Mission complete, right? We killed who was giving the orders to the Gargoyle demons. Surely we can return to the castle? Yes, and we can give your family a place to reside in the castle. Bleezy looks around. Speaking of your family, where's your brother? You mean this brother? Ulanus and Bleezy turn around to see the infamous Merlot standing at the door, with Jethros under a spell that keeps him slightly levitated off the ground, unable to move. Around his wrists and ankles are a glowing energy, making him seem in chains. Let him go, says Ulanus, almost in a growl. Don't worry, I plan to. But first, I need something from you. Curse you, Merlot, spits Bleezy. It seems your lord has already guessed what I seek to propose, so I will just say it. Merlot goes silent then, building the suspense until every fiber of Ulanus' focus was on Merlot. He eventually states, I demand your fealty. Why? Why? Cries Ulanus. Isn't it obvious? You must see you are the strongest ally. Why else would they send you on this mission and have the others? Merlin then pauses for a moment, piecing together what hasn't been said, and have the others stay behind. You will be the key to my downfall. But if you are on my side, we'd conquer this land without delay. Think of your family. They'd be protected by me, and you'd be greater at magic. Ulanus' heart drops, and the room starts spinning. It is like Merlot is in his head, giving him no choice. If he says no, then he has to deal with his brother's death and a fight with a level 50 mage. If he says yes, he will save his family and become stronger than ever. Well, asks Merlot. Did I ever have a choice, as the once was an ally? No, my accomplice, not really. Ulanus then walks up to Merlot and bows. From this point on, you shall be known as the mal ally, or evil accomplice. I shall rule this realm, and you will have helped. Merlin then looks to Bleezy. Your first order. Assist me in killing your former lord. 11. It is late afternoon once again, and the mage storm is quiet, but not empty. It is filled with 4 allies, filling their heads with countless spells from the books the lords gave them. There they sit at the round table in silence, with the loudest sound being a sigh of undisturbed focus, or a flip of the page. They are learning faster than they have ever learned before, due to the personalized way the spell books were made for them, and due to the slumber growth. Igrosi is delving into spell techniques he had never thought to delve into before. The tactics Lord Gomek suggests are genius, and he can't wait to discuss them with Gomek. As he is thinking about having a discussion with Gomek, several knocks sound at the door, and in come the lords. The lords enter as if it is a library, and they are taking the rule of no noise quite seriously. Hunan stands next to Menzi, Feeder next to Abner, and Krob next to Hetsu. They eventually whisper something into their ally's ear, and they all get up and leave. Gomek says quietly to Higrosi, How is the studying going? Great. I've learned 50 new spells today. Superb. Excellent news indeed. Gomek then taps him on the shoulder, then makes a gesture for the door. Take a walk with me, Higrosi. Tell me more about these spells. They immediately exit the mage dorm and begin roaming the castle while having a discussion. They discuss the spell techniques Gomek wrote for him. The Lord is inwardly ecstatic that Higrosi took notice and gave recognition to the tactics, and shows how he feels through words. I am glad you are learning the ways of a level 20 mage, Higrosi, and since you have undoubtedly shown impeccable improve, I have a gift for you. Gomek pulls out of the folds of his robes a book, small in comparison to the last book given to him. Higrosi takes the book and reads the cover. Inner Indulgence and Outer Realizations. Only focus on one of these spells at a time, warns Gomek. These are powerful incantations. Gomek then leads Higrosi back to the mage dorm. As Higrosi enters on his own, he sees the other allies have already returned and are preparing the allies' last meal of the day. Would you all like help? He asks swindlingly. Nope, says Hetsu. I'm off to my room until we eat then, and begins to walk to his room. Wait, says Menzi. Higrosi turns back to the busy mages. Crispy woodland animal or wild chicken stew? Woodland animal, answers Higrosi, and continues to his room. He sits there for a while with the book in his hand, staring at the cover. Gomek's words still ring in his head. These are powerful incantations. Slowly and deliberately, he opens to the first page. Invisibility for as long as your will allows. When invisible, not even you will be able to see your physical body. Focus on where your eyes are placed in the room or in the area and you should be fine. Godlicalitize. Allows you to be 10 times stronger than you would be normally physically. Doesn't work against the female gender unless you are a female. Lasts for as long as you would normally last physically. Bravatalamo. Summons any living or dead being if they willingly accept. Higrosi sets the book aside and attempts to spell. His body flickers in and out several times, then is completely out of sight. I wonder how dinner is coming along, he says with a smile. With slight difficulty, he opens the door to his room and makes for the kitchen. He stays in this form for a while, listening in on the allies' boring conversation, watching the way they move. Eventually, his eyes become fixed on Menzi. Her beauty is undeniable. It is almost startling to him. Higrosi has been sitting on the far counter out of the way, but inside of the allies for 15 minutes now, all the while not paying attention to his own self. Higrosi, food's ready, calls Menzi. Okay, time to get back to my room, thinks Higrosi, yet he remains on the counter. He tries to move, but fails. He starts to panic now, because he has no control over his body, just his eyes. Stay calm, Higrosi, he reassures himself. You can break free. Another 10 minutes go by, and the allies are already eating. Then out of nowhere, like the first lightning strike of a storm, he remembers how when he first cast the spell, his body flickers in and out. Maybe, he thinks, those flickers will return control over his body. The others will hear me, he realizes, but that can't be helped. And so he casts a ghost-like sounding spell. Ah! And sure enough, his body returns for a second, and he regains control. What in Mage's name? Says Hetsu, as he sees the body of Higrosi come in and out of sight on the counter, run through the kitchen and back into Higrosi's room. What? What did you see? Asks Hebner. Higosti. The sun rises in the land of the Five Lords, just as it always has, and probably always will, no matter what the outcome of this war of good and evil will be. The sky is going pink, and the sun itself is an orange ball of energy, just waiting to be captured by a mad mage for observation. The lords and allies are doing some observing themselves this beautiful morning. It has been a full week since they planted their individual beings. Today is the day the plants are in their prime, and the allies, you could say, will be graded. Gomek, Huden, Federer, and Krob are all gathered in Lord Federer's garden, in a lush open area. Higrosi, Menzi, Avner, and Hetsu are in single file with their potted plant beings in hand, all except for Avner. First up is Hetsu. His plant is a shrub of some kind. Strong brown branches, light green leaves, and blue flowers spotted here and there. Very nice, Hetsu, says Crow. Your plant shows strength and stability. Hetsu bows and steps aside. Next is Abner, empty-handed. Since your incident with this lesson leaves you without a plant, says Fedora, we can't very well give you feedback. However, Fedora walks over to a potted plant, blended in with the rest of the plant life. We can give you this. He hands over the plant to Abner. This plant I created because I thought it represented you. Black leaves for your dark side, dark stem for your deep foundation, and thorns, not for your offensiveness, but for your way of defending yourself at all costs. This may not be what sprouted if you would have created it yourself, but I do feel it will go nicely in your dorm room. Third is Menzie. Her plant is simple, yet beautiful and healthy. Hewden estimates the healthy-looking green stem to be at least 2 feet tall, with several green leaves here and there. At the top of the plant is a single gold leaf. Menzie, you have shown much promise in this plant. The Flame Clan would be proud. Menzie bows in a beautifully proud way and steps aside with head to his Abner. Last is Segrosi. His plant is very tall, almost 3 feet tall. Although this is small for a regular tree, this tree seems to be an adult. Gomek examines the plant. White trunk and branches, gold leaves, exceptional height. Higrosi, this is astounding. Thank you. I don't think you understand. Higrosi, you and Menzie, lords and allies. They all look around for the owner of the call. Lords and allies. Head to spot who it is. Look, it is Ulanis. Lords, ready your army. Allies, ready yourselves. War is upon us. 12. He took my family hostage, and just when I escaped, he killed Bleezy. Mage, curse him, growls Crow. At least we still have a chance to save your family. Oh yeah, speaking of family, says Ulanis. Hey, Grossi, we must hurry to yours before he gets to them. Hey, Grossi almost drops his individual being. He knows about Truany? If only you hadn't just told me you had a family, thinks Ulanis. Yes, and he's on his way to her. Don't worry, says Gomek to Higrosi. I have teleportation spheres to my land with me now. We can teleport there and ride to her in a matter of half an hour. I think I must go too, states Ulanis. I'm the only one here that has experience dealing with Merlot. I believe this is needed. Very well, we shall go at once. Gomek hands to Gross and Ulanis the teleportation spheres. They break them simultaneously and are whisked off to Gomek's land. The ride to Higros's house on horseback, to him, felt like forever. The whole time riding, all he could think about was how selfish he had been. Truany completely left his head, ever since he set foot in Fedora's castle, and his infatuation with Menzie just made things worse. Her life is in jeopardy, and it is basically his fault. I must stop thinking about such things. We're here. The three of them jump off their horses and enter Higrosi's house. Higrosi led Gomek and Ulanis through his house searching for Truany. They found her at the kitchen table, drinking tea, deep in thought. At the sight of her husband, tears fell from her face in joy. My love, you have returned. I was so worried. Truany, we have no time to talk. Merlo is on his way here to take. Out of nowhere, Ulanis rushes past Gomek and Higrosi, grabs Truany tightly by the shoulder, and breaks another teleportation sphere. No, yells Higrosi, and snatches at thin air. Curses, Gomek wears a look of despair himself. I should have known he was working for Merlo, ever since that bogus story of how he escaped Merlo. You don't just escape a level 50 mage. What do we do now, asks Higrosi. We go back to Feeder's castle, and come up with a plan. Maybe. Gah! Screams Higrosi, and punches a hole through his wall. He goes to punch another hole through the wall, stops, and reads the engraving on one of the rings on his hand. Love, the acknowledgement of others. That's it. Please share, asks Gomek, bewildered. My ring knows where Truany is wherever she goes. If we find her, we find Merlo. And if we can kill him, we can end this war before it really gets started. Good mage, you may have just saved this realm. Let us be off. He hands Gross a teleportation orb to Lord Feeder's castle and leaves with him in high spirits. The next 3 days consisted of non-stop readying of war provisions. The lords wear pure gold mage robes, the best in the land. The allies wear white shimmering mage robes, second best robes, if not just as good as the lords. Both lord and ally wear a teleportation orb belt. On these belts are orbs that teleport you 10 feet to your left, right, front, and back, and orbs that teleported you back to the castle if you cannot fight any longer. The allies read the books that were given to them from front to back, and remembered the majority of the spells and spell tactics. "So how does your ring work?" asks Lord Huden. They all stand at the gates of the castle, ready to ride on horseback to their destination. "It works almost like heat does, Trinity being the flame. The closer we get to her, the hotter I'm going to feel. Metaphorically, of course. This isn't going to hurt." Huden chuckles. "Alright." Feeder checks to see everyone is here. 4 lords, 4 allies, 12 level 15 mages, just in case a gang of Delgoa want to bother us. He climbs into his horse's saddle, and everyone does the same. "We ride to down Merlot." Merlot sits in his throne-like chair, staring at the tied and bound Truni villainously. He looks through her mostly, turning his evil plan in his head. After some time, he turns to Ulanus and snaps his fingers. Ulanus hurries over to Truni and removes the cloth preventing her from speaking. "Help! Help!" "That won't do an ounce of good, Truni. You are in my lair on the island south of Lord Bleezy's land. The closest people to you are me, the greatly powerful Merlot, and Ulanus the accomplice. Oh, and the corpse of Bleezy, the weak lord in the corner there." Merlot and Ulanus laugh. "You will be stopped," says Truni defiantly. Merlot's mood sours. "Maybe Bleezy is dead, but you still have to deal with 4 more lords. You worthless nothing. I'm greater than any mage can hope to be. Bring on the entire realm, and I still would prevail." "Wrong." Merlot stands in anger at her continuous defiance. "There is one who can still best you." Merlot is now walking towards her. "The soul searcher Higrosi." At the mention of his name, Merlot grabs her by the throat. "I would end you right here and now if you weren't as needed as you are." Truni is deeply afraid, but keeps her expression strong and hopeful. Suddenly, he senses something different in the realm. He lets her neck go and walks over to his seeing stone. He sees Higrosi making his way through Bleezy's land. He lets out a triumphant "Ha!" as his plan forms into reality. But as the seeing stone views what's behind Higrosi, his evil smile twists into a darkened frown. Merlot decides to share with Truni. "So, your husband has decided to come save you, as I expected. But what is unexpected is he's brought the entire gang of lords and allies with him. This is very unsettling." "Permission to let your accomplice speak?" "Yes. Let us meet them in Bleezy's land. This island is no place for a proper battle. We can meet them and get rid of them." "Great suggestion, accomplice. Great indeed. We will meet them upon Bleezy's land." 13. The lords and the allies, and the 12 mage soldiers, rode with such a speed, that their destination was a joyful one, that they couldn't wait to get there. They had gone west through Feeder's land, and into Bleezy's, and are now heading south. Most of Bleezy's land is filled with huge houses and farmlands, but the part that they're in now is mostly grassy flatlands. It wasn't raining, though the clouds had completely covered the sky, giving everything a gloomy look. Lightning flashed. Thunder came crashing soon afterward. Higrosin stopped his horse and everyone did the same. "What's the matter?" asked Skomek. "Something must be wrong. I feel as if she is close, but why would she be?" "Look!" A mage soldier shouted and gestured west, only to point out 3 dark figures in the distance, one of them carrying something large. The group of 20 rode to meet them. In a brilliant flash, a group of 10 gremlins teleported in between them and the 3 figures. "Soldiers, fight!" ordered Huden. The 12 brave-hearted soldiers hop off their horses and begin casting spells against the demons, while their demons cast spells against them. As the battle ensues, the rest of the mages confront the figures who turn out to be Merlot, Ulanus, and bound at the hands Truni. Merlot throws at the lord's and allies' feet what he was carrying, the dead body of Lord Bleezy. Merlot wears deep space black robes and a rain-cloud gray hood and cape. Ulanus wears the same type of dry blood red robes Merlot had on earlier, and Crow black hood and cape. Crow steps forward. "Merlot, this is our land. We will not let you take it. Please, just go." These words are weak. I see through your despair. Just go? Nay. How about this? Just die. Quick, 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 quick. A stream of hot blue energy streams from Merlo's fingertips straight to Crow. Boom, casts Crow, and blocks the attack, but not without sending Crow sprawling backwards. A great battle then proceeds. Colors flare, and sounds erupt, until the grassland they were just on is now a plain of brown dirt. Merlo uses a perfect strategy of blocking everything thrown at him, using his accomplice to deal with the allies, and only casting spells on the lords. The battle has now ended. The following have fallen: Ulanus, the four lords, Hetsu, Menzi, Avner, all mage soldiers, and all Gremla. All that remain are Merlo, Truni, and Higrosi. Higrosi, it is over. Your friends have fallen. Give up now, and you may get a share of this realm. Don't do it, Hig, screams Truni, and attempts to run to her lover. Just gasps Merlo, and she goes hurtling back into his hands. Okay, Higgy, look at it like this. Join me, or at least stand down, and I won't kill the last that you have to love in this realm. Deal? Higrosi's heart starts to beat faster. His hands are sweating. His mind is racing. He's thinking about all the spells he knows, all the power he has left. Before I took the slumber growth and became level 20, I would have to use the single spell power in my father's ring in a fight like this. Wait, that's it! I'll draw that power plus all the power I can from my soul for this last attack on Merlo. But what spell? This Havalora, that might knock him out. But what if it doesn't? No, that wouldn't work. God, I'm wasting time. Wait, yes, I've got it. Merlo, I must say I do not think I'm strong enough to beat you. The evil lord smiles from temple to temple. But I know who can. Ra Vatala, my mage! Right above Higrosi and Merlo's head, the clouds part, and from very high up they can just make out another figure descending to where they are. No, you couldn't have. But I did. I summoned the original mage, level 101. After some time of waiting, the figure finally touched down. Mage wears robes that shine like thousands of stars, and a hood and cape of deep purple. His and Higrosi's eyes meet, and they simultaneously bow to each other. Mage then looks toward Merlo. I'm here to save my home realm once again, it seems. Pah! I will destroy you too! Quick! No. Merlo's spell completely dies away. But how did you... Ib. And Merlo slowly fades away. Thank you so much, mage. Speak quickly, Higrosi. Your spell will dissipate soon. I don't know what to say. No matter. Before I leave, I will grant you one wish and give you one gift. What would you like your wish to be? Higrosi takes a look around and does not need to think very long for an answer. I wish my lords and allies alive again. A great wish, indefinitely. When I was alive in this realm, I used to do that spell on occasion. Sometimes it is better to not tamper with death, but now I see no problem in casting life. He takes a deep breath, holds it in, then shouts, Lords! Allies! Live! And Higrosi's once dead friends come back to life, Bleezy as well, and rejoiced. They talked with Mage for a few minutes, and, right before he left, he gave Higrosi the gift he promised, 50 more levels. 14. Higrosi the individual, a mere ponder of the elements, is a soul surger. A rarely found mage that uses the energy of his soul to fuel his mana. He has vowed to live by pure magic. He exists in a realm he controls, with his 8 friends, Gomak, Krob, Federer, Bleezy, Huden, Hetsu, Avner, and Menzi. No one from this realm has the power to contend with him. It will most likely always be this way. End of part 1. Thanks for listening to this excerpt and watching my card gameplay. I, Tariq Shaw, am the Bright Letter. I have written the Fantasy Codex, designed the Gargoyle Tablet symbolism, and developed card games. I go on an adventure I constructed, one of being a video game character in real life. and have written an additional story as an introduction and roleplay log to that adventure. Stay tuned for part 2 of the first 3 acts of the Vanity Codex, and more abstract the card game gameplay.